Hey everyone, welcome back. Professor Hank here. So today we're going to take a look at maps in C++. And the big idea with maps is that they are an associative container. And each of the elements stored inside of a map object is going to have two parts, a key and a value. And these elements are often referred to as key value pairs. So if you want to get a specific value from within a map, you use the key that is associated with that value. So this is kind of like looking up a word in a dictionary where the words are keys and the definitions are the values. So this are very similar to, say, dictionaries in Python. So let's go ahead and get started with some examples. Okay, so to start with, we're going to need to include #include map. And that'll give us access to that type of container from the standard template library. And then we can create a map. We can declare it by using the keyword map. And then we specify in these angle brackets here, the key and the value pairs, right? So maybe we'll have a string be our key and another string be our value. So it can be a key value pair, and let's #include string, since we're going to be using string objects. And then we'll call this like phone book, right? So we'll create a map that's going to serve as a phone book for contact list. So the first string will be the user's name, and then the second string will be their phone number. How about that? Okay. So now if we want to initialize our map, then we can use an initialization list here. So we could do something like this, where we're going to place key value pairs inside of our initialization list. So I'll do 3 of them, right? So maybe the first one will be John Doe, and their phone number is going to be, 555-1234. And then the second item in our map is going to be Jane Doe, and she'll have 555-1235. And then for our third entry, we'll have Jack Doe, and his number will be 555-1236. So that's going to create a map that has 3 items in it. So we can ask the map how big it is by accessing, or how many elements are in it, by accessing its size method. So we can do something like this. We can do cout size, then we can do phonebook.size. Okay, and so then when we do that, we're going to see that we've got 3, right? Because there's 3 items in there. Now, if we want to access each one of the individual elements, what we're going to use is we're going to use the @ method. So this first method right here retrieves the size, and then we're going to use @ to retrieve values. And the argument for @ is going to be the key, right? So remember, this first item, the name, is the key, and then the phone number in our example here is the value. So I could do something like this. I could say cout phonebook.@, and then I'll put in here John Doe. And then we will see that I'm going to get the phone number for John Doe, right? So there's the 555-1234. Now, another method I can use here is empty. So I can do something like this. I can use empty to tell if the phone book is empty or not. Use empty method to tell if map is empty or not. So this returns true if it is, false otherwise. So I can do cout phonebook.empty, and you're going to see that the value that gets returned is going to be 0 because it's false that my phone book is empty, because I've got 3 entries in my phone book right inside of my map there. Now I can use the range-based for loop to iterate over this thing. So use the range-based for loop. So that would look something like this: for auto, and then we'll do E for element, and then we'll do phone book, and then we'll just cout E dot first, and then E dot second. Because the way these key value pairs are stored, there is a struct that the values get assigned to, right? So this pair right here, the first value here is assigned to the first member of that struct, and then this second value here gets assigned to that second field within the struct, right? So then we can see, there is the contents of my phone book map. Now, if we want to get rid of everything inside the container, we can use the clear method. So I can do something like this. I can say phonebook.clear, and then that's going to empty everything out. So then if I do the size again, you're going to see that it's now 0 because there's nothing in the phone book anymore once I clear it. So let's see that. Right, so then you can see there's the size equals 0. Now, what if I want to put something back into my map, back into my phone book here? Well, there's a couple different ways we can do it. And the first way we can do it is like this. We can do phone book, and then in square brackets here, we can place the key that we want. So maybe Tom Jones, and then we'll use the assignment operator and then the value we want to store. So as the value, so 999-1234. And so then once we've done that, we'll see that the size of our phone book has changed to 1, and we can retrieve that value. So we'll be able to do cout phonebook.at Tom Jones and get our phone number for Mr. Jones back out, right? So there's the size equals 1 and 991234. The second way we can add something is by using the insert method. So we're going to use insert, but that's going to require us to also use this function called make pair. And then in the parentheses for make pair, we're going to have our key value pair. So we'll do key value. So I could do something like this. I could say auto A equals make pair, and then we'll do John Doe again. And we will do a phone number for John Doe, 555-1234. And then we can use insert phonebook.insert and then pass the variable name, and then we'll be able to access it. So we'll be able to do something like cout phonebook.at John Doe to get the number out. Okay, so we can do that. Then you're going to see there's the number for John Doe right there, 555-1234. Another thing we can do is we can just combine this all into one statement right here. We could do both of these in one statement instead. So I could do something like phonebook.insert make pair, and then we'll do Tim Brown and 555-8181, something like that. And then if we cout phonebook at Tim Brown, we're going to get our number, our phone number for Mr. Brown out. Maybe we want to call Tim up and invite him to a Raiders game or something like that. So 555-8181. We do actually have a third way we can add things to our map, and that is using the in place method. And so what we'll do is we'll pass our key and our value, and we won't even need to use make pair here. So we could do something like this. We could say, Joe Montana, and then 555-1616. Then that'll add Joe Montana to our phone book. So then if I cout, give me the phone number of Joe Montana, and display that on the screen, right? So that'll allow us to access it. And so you can see there is Joe Montana's number. Okay, so the question then becomes, well, what happens if you try to access an element that doesn't exist? In other words, you pass a key to at that does not exist. So we have something, that looks like this, cout phonebook.at, and I do Steve Young, right? There's no Steve Young in our phone book. So what'll happen? Well, this will throw an exception. Okay, so to prevent this, what we want to do is we first want to verify that there is a Steve Young in our phone book. So how do we do that? We'll do if phonebook.count, and then we'll pass the key here. So we'll do Steve Young. So this is checking to see if Steve Young is in our phone book. If so, tell us the number. Otherwise, we'll print out an error message, cout not found or something like this, right? So that way we protect ourselves from throwing an exception. So you can see there's the not found right there. Right, so next up, we can use iterators with maps. So I will grab myself an iterator, and we'll do something like map string. And then we are going to have that keyword iterator, and then I will name my iterator just it, and then we'll grab the front of our map. So phonebook.begin, and then I can use that in a loop. I can do something like while it does not equal phonebook.end. Then what will we do? We will cout it first and it second. So traversing using our little iterator here. Okay, and then we will increment our iterator right there. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. We'll see the contents of our phone book now using the iterator to traverse over the container. And maps have a copy constructor, so I could create a new map here. I could do map string new phone book and pass as an argument the name of another map, and my other map here was phone book, and then I can use that new phone book with all the values that were initialized or copied over from my old phone book, right? So we'll see that that's going to work, and we'll iterate over phone book here of our new phone book, and we'll see out e.first, e.second. And then you're going to see that we copied all those values from the old phone book to the new one, right? So there's the old phone book, Joe Montana, John Doe, Tim Brown, Tom Jones, and then my new phone book that was initialized with the old phone book, Joe Montana, John Doe, Tim Brown, and Tom Jones. And you can use other types of objects as a value. So let's say that we wanted to use vectors as a value. So we could do that. So we'll do vector, and let's say that, I was keeping track of your scores or something. I want to write a program to do that. Then I could use a vector to store all of your scores and maybe use your name as my key, right? So let's see here. So we'll do vector int a, and we'll initialize that with 88, 22, 77, and then vector int b, and we'll do 90, 87, and 91, and then we'll do vector int c, and we'll do 79, 81, and 74. Now I can add those guys to a new map, and we'll do map, and we'll do a string. So that'll be the student's name. And then we'll have an int vector as the value. So the key is going to be the student's name, and then the value is going to be the vector, right? Their scores. So key is student's name, and the value is going to be a vector of scores. So let's use an initialization list here to get that all set up. So we'll have John Doe again as a student in the class, and this time they're going to have array A, and I have to have curly braces around that element. And then we'll have another one here. We'll have Patrick Mahomes and his scores, which will be vector B. And then we'll have Max Crosby. How about that? Max Crosby, and his scores will be vector C. So that will set up our new map of scores. And then if I want to print out all the scores from all the students, then I could use my range-based for loop, or I could use my iterators again, whichever. So then I could do something like auto student, and we'll go over student or over scores, right? So then each one of the key value pairs is going to be copied to this student, right? So for each repetition. So then I can do cout student dot first to give them me their name, and then I could use another loop here to iterate over the vector. So something like for auto score, and then going over the student dot second, and then I'll print out their scores, right? So cout score, and then we'll put a new line character in there, right? So we'll move to the next line. So something like that should do it. So let's give it a try and see what happens. Okay, so you can see there's John Doe, the 3 scores, there's Max Crosby, the 3 scores, and there's Patrick Mahomes, the 3 scores. Okay, and we can assign our own objects to maps as well. So let's say that we created a class named contact, and we have as member variables, name and phone, and then I'll have a constructor here. So we'll do something like contact, and we'll do string n and string p, and then we'll assign to name n and to phone p, and then we'll have a couple accessors here. So we'll have string get name, which is going to return name, and then we'll have get phone, which is going to return phone. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create our map. So we will create a map that has as the key a string, and that has as a value a contact, and we'll name this thing contacts, and we'll use something that looks like this. We'll place as the first contact key, Joe Montana, and then we'll invoke the constructor for that first contact object that's going into our map, and we'll pass to it, Joe Montana and his phone number, 555-1234. And then as our second contact, we'll have Jerry Rice contact, Jerry Rice, and his phone number is 555-8080. I guess he and Joe live in the same neighborhood or something. Okay, now that we have our map, we can iterate over it just like we could anything else. So we can do something like for auto C in our contacts list, and we will access first, just like we did before. So C.first. And then we will do a little space in between, and then we'll do C.second. But now remember, in the second field, we're going to have a contact object. So that'll allow us to get the phone. And then we'll move to the next line. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that. Okay, so there you go. There's Jerry Rice and Joe Montana in our contacts list. Now we could have, because remember, the Joe Montana here is in the first. Jerry Rice is in the first field, but they're also members of our contact object, right? So I could have done something like this too. See the first dot or second dot get name. I could have done that too, and it would basically do the same thing, right? Now, finally, let's see what it looks like to use our own objects here as a key. So we will go ahead and create a couple of contacts. So contact JM for Joe Montana. So Joe Montana, and then his phone number 555-1616, and then contact Jerry Rice. That's Jerry Rice 555-8080. Okay, and then I have to modify my map here because we're going to have a contact as the key, and then maybe we'll just do an int as the value, right? Then I could do something like contacts Joe Montana equals 16, right? And then I could do something like contacts JR, because you notice what I'm using here for the index for the subscript is the name of the contact object, right? So the identifier for Joe Montana and then the identifier for Jerry Rice. So that would be equal 80. And so then I could do something like this, right? I could come down here and, access those values. Now, if I'm going to do this, though, I do need to overload the less than operator because of the way that the containers work. So I'd have to do something like bool operator less than, and we'll have const contact right hand side, and then we'll just return, we'll compare phone. How about phone number? Phone number less than right hand side dot phone. Good enough for this example. Okay, now that'll allow me to come here and do cout contacts JM plus contacts JR, and then we'll do end line, right? So by doing that, I'm able to retrieve the values 80 and 16 because they're associated with the contact object JM and the contact object JR respectively. So if you're going to use your own objects as the key, you got to overload this operator here. And that is so we can use our next method here that we're going to take a look at, which is going to be lower bound. And what lower bound does is it will return an iterator pointing to the first element with a key that is equal to or greater than the key that you pass as an argument to it. So let's see what that would look like. So we'll have our map contact int, and then we're going to do iterator it again. And then we'll assign to that contacts dot lower bound, and we'll pass to it JR. So it's this statement right here that motivates the need to have this right here, right? So that way you can do that comparison and get the iterator returned as we just described. So then I could use that iterator, get that value out. So something like that. Okay, so there's 80. And then similarly, there is an upper bound method. So upper bound, and what upper bound does is it returns an iterator pointing to the first element with a key that is greater than the argument. All right, so that's everything that I wanted to show you in this video. What did we cover? We covered maps in C++. We saw that they are an associative container that allows us to store key value pairs. We saw how to add values to the map, how to retrieve them, how to remove them. We saw how to find out the size, see if it's empty, test to see if the key value pair is in the map. And we saw how to iterate over the map using iterators and the range-based for loop. As usual, if you're a student of mine, you have any questions about any of the content in this video or any of the videos for our courses, feel free to email me on Canvas or stop by our online Zoom office hours. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.